Last week I finished playing the remake of Silent Hill 2 and it blew me away. I own so many of the Silent Hill games, yet I've never properly played any of them. I've got the first one twice, I've got the second one on PS2, I've got the third one PS2, I've got the Silent Hill 4, The Room on PS2 and Xbox, but I've never really played any of them. I've even got the HD collection twice, one sealed, one not. None of that matters. For whatever reason, I've never properly played the games. I've only ever really played them ever so briefly to record footage or whatever. I don't know why. I don't really know why. I am a massive Resident Evil fan. Not that it needs to be an either or thing with those games. But I did ask for Silent Hill 2 for Christmas. I got Silent Hill 2 for Christmas. And I loved everything about it. I'm going to go through kind of pretty much everything I think about the game. I'm guessing not a lot of people will care. I know a lot of people will probably say the original's better. That's fine. I'm probably going to go back and play the original now. I knew people talked about the original, you know. I know that people loved the original. One of the best things for me, though, was that I never really paid much attention to what people said about it, apart from that it was good. Many years ago, I remember I had the opportunity to either buy Silent Hill 2 or Shrek on VHS, and I bought Shrek on VHS. Do I regret it? I don't know. But I finally played it. It took the remake for me to play it. And I guess I want to try and explain why it has stuck with me non-stop in the past week since I finished it. Yeah, I don't like this. You son of a... First of all, the story. Let's just talk a little bit about the story. I'm going to come back to the story in terms of the spoiler bits, but just for now, it's a simple story. A really simple story. And do you know what I really appreciated? I don't have to save the world. That's not what this game is about. I don't have to kind of save the world from some sort of catastrophic event. It's just a simple story of a guy going to a town. Now, there's a little bit more to it than that. Guy goes to a town because he gets a letter from his dead wife. And she says that she basically wants to meet him there. Memories of like a holiday or vacation, I guess, that they had together in this town of Silent Hill when it was probably a much nicer place than it is now. So that's the story. He's searching for his wife. Much better than some of the convoluted, complicated, over the plots that we get from so many games. I'm going to be honest, I often care very little for story in video games. There is so few video games that I've ever really cared about when it comes to their actual story. I think my first ever real kind of experience of a story was probably Resident Evil. It's probably why it stuck with me, and it was horror. The first game that I remember really, really thinking about the story was Final Fantasy VII, because I'd never played anything like that That was a PS1. I was a young teenager, you know, at the time of those games. Metal Gear Solid, probably the original one on the PS1. But after that, there's not that many games that I really got invested in the story. You have to think about this game. I can understand maybe why people would compare Silent Hill to the works of David Lynch, because there's a lot of surrealism and existential. It's very emotive driven rather than this is what's happened type of thing. I'm not explaining myself very well, but I'll try to do better. Let's talk about the graphics first of all. Let's just talk about the graphics. They look good. They look fine. I know that some people complained about some of the graphics, but maybe the update that I had, I never had any of those issues. So it just looked good to me. Just looked good. The whole game just looked good. I'm not going to say it's the greatest game that I've ever seen visually, but it looked good. I really liked a lot of the lighting stuff. So, and the look of the environments was kind of more impressive to me than like fidelity to realism or whatever. So the game looked good. That's not really the main reason why I wanted to play it. I wanted to play it because I heard it was good, and I heard that a lot of people expected it to be rubbish, and it wasn't. And I thought, you know what, let me give it a go. I've had Silent Hill 2 sitting there for the longest time, and I never played it. So if I'm going to play it, maybe this will spur me on, and then I can always play the original. So the gameplay, I would say, to be honest, if I'm being really honest and I was being brutal, I would say that the gameplay is a little bit archaic. It's quite simple, but I liked it. I was fine with that. I am fed up with a lot of the modern day kind of gaming open world stuff and Ubisoftification or whatever you would want to call it of games. So I liked the fact that it was a bit archaic and simple. There wasn't many weapons. You get the what wooden club thing, plank with some nails in it, and then not that long later you get a pipe, and then that's it for kind of melee weapons. Then you only get a handgun, a shotgun, and a rifle. That's all you need. It's all right. It's fine. 12 different handguns don't really mean much to me personally, but I think that was fine. Let's talk about, without going into it maybe a bit too much, some of the enemies. Those enemies which are storytelling devices in themselves by the very nature of what they are. Those lying figures and maybe representing, I don't know, denial, distorted truth, the mannequins and the nurses' repressed sexual desires. I'm going to talk about the mannequins because I just thought they were awesome. They hide throughout. You can sometimes go into a room and you'll see them kind of scuttering off, and then they hide. But they pose in these positions. Oh, it's just fantastic. And then as soon as you aim your gun over them, the flashlight flickers, and then you can't see for a moment, and they're moving. And honestly, I would say that I don't know if I've ever truly been that scared before in a video game. Oh, shit! Fuck. Fuck you, mannequin! Man. This was by far the most uncomfortable I've ever been playing a video game. The sound design in this game is phenomenal. I would hear things around me and I would just, but I don't want to go in there. I don't know what it is. Or sometimes I knew what it was. Sometimes that was even worse. Those, I don't know what the enemies' names are, that kind of that suck to the kind of the bottom of kind of the grating areas. You know what I mean? The metal grate. And they weren't easy. You have to, I don't know if you have to kill the first one, but I did. I shot him. But then after that, I was like, I'm not wasting my bullets. There's another thing. I'm rambling, but who cares? I spent a lot of time in this game more anxious because I wanted to save ammunition for whatever's coming next. And so because of that, I would do a lot of melee and it would go wrong and I would get annoyed. I would get so annoyed, especially those freaking mannequins, man. We would have so many fights where I'm dodging them and then you think, yes, here we go, I'll finish him off, and they dodge you and you're like, no. And honestly, it's tense. It's phenomenal. I loved it. I loved it so much. The nurses freaked me out. I didn't want them to come near me, so I would be saving my shotgun blast for their face, which you can't see because it's distorted. Fantastic. The enemies, I loved them. I loved them pretty much all. They all made me feel uncomfortable, made me want to stay away from them, and did exactly what their job, I guess, is intended to do. It was, yeah, wonderful. The entire game, as I said, has blown me away. Now, I know this video is probably getting long, so let me try and keep on with a few other things. So I've already mentioned the sound design was fantastic. The noises, the pop off in the distance, or you'd hear almost like whispers, the wind blowing, door kind of goes shut, or something. Just stuff is happening that just makes you second guess what's going to happen next. There was a moment where I went into like a bathroom and there was a scream, and I was like, son of a bitch game, man. There's so many moments though. I just want to say there were so many moments that I would turn in, and then there was a mannequin just like looking at me like, hi, and then I freaked out. I didn't scream or anything like that. But I felt uncomfortable throughout a lot of this game. And so I loved it because I've never really felt like that in a game before, and I didn't expect it to do it to me. I didn't. So that I was really happy with. The music is wonderful. It's fantastic. Sometimes one of the best things I can say about music in a video game is that you don't notice it until you do notice it. That probably doesn't make much sense, but in this game, the music didn't distract me. It just added to the experience, the gameplay, the moments. I'm not always very good at wording what I want to say. You're probably getting that now. So, the characters. Let's talk about the characters a little bit. James, should I start with him? I'm going to say something that I know a lot of people will be like, yeah. I felt there was something a little bit off with James quite early on. You need a new radio, mate. I thought, oh, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's, I started overthinking, what could happen in this game. But I'm not going to spoil anything just yet. I'll mention when I'm going to do spoilers, but maybe that was a spoiler. I don't know. But Angela, when I worked out what was going on with her, I was like, wow, that's just some powerful stuff. Looking for a mama at the beginning of the game. You're looking for your wife. I was like, cool. She was like, don't go into the town. I was like, I have to if I want to play the game. Anyway, Angela's a great character, fantastic character, without like having to overly explain stuff. You understand what's going on, and if you don't even 100% get it, you get the feeling. It is so emotively driven, this game, and I honestly, it gets you on a guttural level, even if you can't always link the things together with, logic. So, and I don't even know how to explain that, but I'll try to explain it later with some of my psychology concepts. But anyway, Maria, I actually really liked her as a character. I saw a thing that someone said they didn't really like Maria, but I did. She made me feel uncomfortable, is the best way I could describe it, with kind of the little things that she would say. She and James, I think, did a good job of kind of almost him kind of coming across as like, yeah, I mean, she would be saying stuff like, I went up to where the pole dancing thing was, and she was like, oh, do you want to do a dance for me? I was like, man, that's the kind of shit you hear people say, isn't it? Like, you know, oh, go on, love, we give us a pole dance, yeah.
Maria?
Okay. I swear to God, Maria. I don't know if I'm excited to see you or if it's just the pipe in my pocket.
What?
So I thought that she did a fantastic job of this kind of, again, maybe kind of repressed sexual desires, or his, how he maybe wanted Maria to be. Eddie was a great character. I loved the fact that you could see his breath when he spoke. And it got me thinking, oh, is he kind of going through like what I'm going through, but it's different? So what is James is kind of what, rotten and rusty, and Eddie's is cold. And I'll say something maybe a bit later just in case. Actually, no, I'll say it now. Spoilers, you know, if you don't want spoilers of Silent Hill, maybe at this point run away. But what I would say is Angela's bit at the end when she's surrounded by fire, to me suggests that her Silent Hill is constantly on fire. I mean, wow, that tells you so much about. So to me, Silent Hill, what it does. Okay, let's get into kind of what happens. Actually, just before I do, Laura, I wanted to shoot in the face. That's the only thing I'd say. I made so many comments about it. She kept calling me fart face. I wanted to shoot her. I'm going to shoot that kid. And I won't regret it. But anyway, right. So let's get into some of the more maybe kind of psychological components of this game. The story isn't told, in my viewpoint, through kind of really obvious exposition. You know, aside from, I'm looking for my wife. And he'll occasionally go, yeah, but she's dead. So do you think I'm weird? The bits that get to me are like Angela, like I said, being surrounded by fire. She would say things that make you go, I wonder what's happened to her. Why is she so, like, I don't even know what's, like, she seems very suicidal at the moment. She gets very funny with James in moments. She just suddenly kind of turns. And then when you start thinking about it, let's get to some of the bosses, for example, like the abstract daddy, it just tells you everything. I mean, but it does it through not making it too obvious, although I don't know. I'm not trying to say I'm smart or anything like that, but sometimes I'm quite good at these types of things. Not always. Sometimes I miss stuff that is obvious. But that abstract daddy looked like, you know, a figure on top of another figure on maybe a mattress. Although at first I thought, is that a painting? Abstract daddy, is that a painting? But which wouldn't make sense. But a painting burst through the wall. But yeah, I thought that kind of made it obvious, and no wonder she kind of, any kind of male, she was like, you want to have your way with me like everyone else, all of that kind of stuff. Really obvious that, you know, she's gone through some awful stuff with her dad. And the bit where you kind of like find like the little closet maybe she used to hide in, I mean, wow, powerful stuff. Go on, Angela, mess him up. Okay. And Eddie's, like, again, coldness, again, is his Silent Hill's cold. Angela's Silent Hill is fire, claustrophobic, scare. I mean, it's just so amazing, honestly. I might be dumb. I know I'm dumb. But the way that, to me, Silent Hill basically brings out people's trauma, right? I'm guessing that's what it does. I don't know if it actively does it, or if it's just, as in, I don't know if Silent Hill is sentient and it wants someone to learn a lesson, or does it just give people that opportunity to, if you get what I mean. So yeah, as in, if you go there, that's just what happens. It's not that it's intending to do anything. Does that kind of make sense? A TV doesn't intend to show you anything. It doesn't think. I'm not explaining it very well. The psychological component of the game. So, okay. So, at first, I thought James had done something naughty. But at first I thought, has he, because it's mentioned about a tape, and I thought, has he done some naughty stuff on a videotape? And that's, what's gone on whilst his wife's sick in hospital and he's been a very naughty boy. Well, it turns out he's been a very, very naughty boy, doesn't it? Spoiler. No wonder he feels so guilty, which I thought was a lot about kind of the sexual oppression. I did think, maybe she's dead. Not maybe she's dead, because she's dead. She is dead. She died, didn't she? It's mentioned at the beginning. I meant that he'd killed her. I did think that maybe he's done something. I guess what's happened is 3 years haven't passed, and the 3 years are the 3 years of hell that he basically, in his mind, kind of went through, but with a lot of regret for what he's done, even though seemingly he's probably killed. Well, I didn't say seemingly. They show that he puts a pillow over her face and he kills her.
Hey, there you are. Do you know where Mary is?
Yeah, she's dead. That's not really symbolic, that bit. But all the enemies are symbolic of the guilt, the trauma, of the punishment that he's trying to put himself through. But the story is generally ambiguous apart from the bit with the pillow. Although some people, I guess, could argue that that's symbolic in itself. It's actually, he didn't, some people might argue he didn't kill her, that he,
Gives me the creeps.
that he symbolically killed her by not visiting her. And that's why he gets a letter that she has died. Sorry, not that she has died. He would have known that. Here's the thing. So I watched this video after, which showed that if you break the boundary, if you kind of no clip, you can see that the body's in the back of the car. I kind of guessed that at one point. When did I guess it? Not that it matters. I guessed that I wondered if she, I think it's when I saw one of the endings, I was like, she's in the back seat. And then I watched a video with a no clip that showed that was true. I was like, so I looked it up. So I felt like I was right with that. I understand that maybe some people don't kind of like that because now you're making it too obvious. But it's not like, I don't know, is it that obvious to many people? I don't know. So the story is one of the best stories I've ever experienced in video games, is I guess what I'm trying to say. It's disturbing, it's surreal, it's introspective, there's so much internal conflict going on within James that is seen externally, and you can see that with the other characters that are probably going through something as well. I also love how it kind of really talks about kind of the human weakness. He clearly, seemingly regrets what he's done. He's spending his entire time looking for his wife, that maybe he's shut out, he's pushed away that what he's done. There's some great details, like you can see right at the beginning of the game, he's not wearing his wedding ring. When you go into the nightclub, you can see in the Lost and Found there's a wedding ring. Did he kind of frequent those types of establishments? And, he doesn't want to have a drink in there. Maybe there was a drinking problem. There is so much that is, I guess, slightly insinuated that you can take from it. It isn't necessarily the case. And I saw a thing that said that there's a time loop theory. And I thought, that's really interesting. That's really interesting, isn't it? That he is potentially reliving this thing over and over again, which is why I think if that's the case, he doesn't really ever learn. He either one doesn't really learn his lesson unless he gets the leave ending, which is actually what I got the first time I played. But I do love the idea that maybe the first game, right, the original Silent Hill 2 is the original experience, and the remake is like the loop that over time has eventually come into kind of where we are now. Although, if it's a time loop, explain a few things to me. Although I guess Silent Hill, the town is magic, so it can do what it wants. I swear he kind of grows stubble as the game goes on. So does he shave at the beginning and we don't see that bit?
He looks angry.
I don't know. Another thing with the time loop theory I had is, I mean, I know you see like the bodies of James around, or what seems like James, potentially. What was my other issue with it? He doesn't learn anything though. Then what's the point? What, you want him to learn, and then the punishment is that he's got to go through it again? I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Again, it depends if Silent Hill is a sentient
Jesus
thing
Christ.
that actively desires or wants you to learn something, I guess.
What happened there?
There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, also, here's a thing that I thought about the game. If he was to get a letter, and even Laura gets a letter, right, about Mary being dead, the letter's going to be sent out when she's dead. How does anyone know that she's died? Apart from James, because he's murdered her, right? So he's murdered her. He's taken her to Silent Hill in the back of his car. How does anyone else bloody know? So how could the hospital or whatever send out the letter from Mary? Okay, the last bit I'm just going to quickly talk about is some theory stuff around. There's Jungian. There's a thing in the wall, a Jungian photo. It's not a photo, image of a lot of Jungian concepts, which talk about things like the shadow, which, you could say that the pyramid head is James's shadow, haunted by the guilt of killing his wife. He runs away from it. The more we run away, the more it chases us. I thought, if that's true, potentially, I mean, why would they put the Jungian thing there? I think that a lot of this could maybe be explained by Jungian kind of theory, potentially. It's a wonderful way of doing a story without it being this really obvious, tripe, convoluted crap. Although you could say that the game's convoluted, couldn't you? You could say the story's convoluted because it doesn't just tell you, but I don't think you necessarily need to go into the deep stuff. Although it's deep, you don't have to go into the deep stuff for it to kind of hit you emotionally. I think the story that is on the surface, he's killed his wife, is enough. But when you kind of look into the kind of, maybe there's more stuff going on here than meets the that a lot of what he experiences of the game is, again, like even Maria, for example, being like the anima, like the female version of him, or even potentially just how he envisions women, his representation of that's how women should be, maybe, and so he kind of maybe struggles with that. There's a lot of conflict with that for him. So honestly, there's a lot here in terms of facing the self, archetypes, symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism again. There's the alchemy, which I don't really know much about, if I'm really honest with you. I don't know much about kind of the old alchemy and stuff, but he's often I think a lot of Jungian stuff is about self-aware or awareness, using kind of the unconscious to kind of come to some kind of realization of the truth, or whatever that might be. So anyway, responsibility, accountability, all of those kind of things. There's so many messages, and I just want to say, I'm going to end this now. I'm going to try and edit this as minimal as possible, so it is as guttural as how I felt with the game. It's amazing. It's so amazing. I am probably going to go and play all of the Silent Hills now. I'm going to behave myself and play them all. And if they do a remake of 3, I'm there. If they do a remake of 1, I'm there. Oh my God, it's amazing. In fact, I would just say, I think I'm really happy that I waited this long to play the game. And the reason why is because I've had this experience. Now I've had this experience, I don't know if I would have had this experience with this game if I'd have played the original. And I can understand, if you've played the original, you kind of like the really uncanny kind of voice acting and things like that. It doesn't kind of sit right with you. And I understand, if you've played the original, of course you'd probably prefer it over this one. And maybe I'll end up preferring this one over the original just because I played it first. But it doesn't take anything away from this game. If this is your first experience of Silent Hill, I could understand you being blown away. It is one of the best games I have ever played. If you haven't played it, or if you've even thought, oh, maybe I'd be interested in play it. As long as you can cope with feeling unsettled and scared for 16 hours, which is what it took me, do it. It's one of the best things I've ever experienced in video games. I've been moaning recently that I'd lost interest in video games, and goddamn, this game was phenomenal. Silent Hill 2, my hat goes off to you. I don't even have a hat, but maybe that's some sort of hidden message. It's not. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you sometime soon.